Welcome to Best Available Podcast, episode 39. It is the first episode of May, the fifth month already of 2021. We're kind of going to be spontaneous with this one. We have some stuff obviously to talk about, but we'll just see. There's a lot of stuff that we might hit on in this episode. It might be just a lot of different things, which will be fun. Matt, it's crazy that it's already 5 months into the year. How are you doing today on May 3rd? It's almost your favorite day of the year.
Yeah, we're almost at May the 4th, Star Wars Day, one of the best days on the calendar. It'll be Ryan's first May the 4th, which will be nice. We'll get him going with some stuff. Yeah, it's good. I had to shovel a bunch of dirt and soil last weekend, so that was some good manual labor. Got the muscles going a little bit. 3-day project. Was just putting on the Home Depot theme song in my head as I was doing it. It was giving me a lot of juice, a lot of energy. So that song hits differently, Ryan, when the calendar turns over to May. I don't know if you agree. The Home Depot theme song.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it a lot during football season for those fall home renovation projects. You hear it a lot during Black Friday and, you get tools for your dad around the holiday season, but yeah, I agree. It means something different at this time of year.
Yeah, it's dads everywhere rejoice when that comes on, and you just see someone slap down a bag of potting soil, and they get the crate of flowers coming in. Yeah, so that was my weekend. But Ryan, more importantly, it's the start of spring officially. I'm declaring it. I know we talked about it before, but now we're officially in the 70-degree days and above, which is nice, with the occasional one that will dip under 60. But I don't know. You had the draft, but I don't know. The draft for me, I didn't really watch a lot of the draft this time around, Ryan. I don't know if you did. We obviously had a big event on the site that I'm sure we'll talk about too, but I was not as much into the draft this year as I was in past years in terms of watching it. I followed it religiously, but for whatever reason, I did not put it on my TV as much as you and I talked about it last week, how we exclusively watch NFL Network.
I have to admit something. I watched ESPN more than NFL Network over the weekend. The draft for me, I thought I was going to look forward to it because it was the first time since, in 2 years, going to be a lot of people there. The fans really add a lot to it, but I don't know. I'm going to sound really old saying this, but it's too much of a spectacle at this point. It's not just the NFL draft anymore where players get picked. There's just way too many other things going on, which I don't like. It really irked me on Thursday when it was basically we were just watching the Kings of Leon concert instead of starting the NFL draft at 8 p.m. Instead, it doesn't start until 8:20. And then the Jaguars have known who they've been picking since they clinched the number one spot, but no, they have to use all 10 minutes on the damn clock before they get their pick in because, maybe we don't want to take Trevor Lawrence. We got to evaluate all the options. So, yeah, I really didn't watch it a lot. I didn't even follow it as much as I thought I would. I mean, I would always get the alerts about who the Eagles picked, but I don't know, something about it this year, it wasn't the same. I don't know what it is.
Well, Ryan, if you are anti-spectacle, I hate to break it to you, but next year it's going to be in Vegas. So at that point, that's what it's going to be, is just an entire show at that point. So I'm sorry that you'll have to experience that next year of it being on a floating pond in the middle of the Vegas Strip, which is I think what they're doing. I think they're going to put it on a floating thing in the middle of a lake or whatever, the Caesars something. One of our friends must know what they're putting it on in Vegas, some pond in the middle of the Strip.
It's just it was stupid. I don't know. That's the best way I think that I can say it. I want to see the guys get drafted. I want some analysis that can tell me about these guys. Most of them I have no idea who they are. And that's all I want. All right? I don't need anything else. Just make it simple. I get there's other ways to get that, but just come on. Just help me out a little bit. that it's like they cater to the casual fans, and I think the casual fans, they're not watching the NFL draft anyway, especially not after day one. After day one, the only fans watching it are the hardcore fans. So I wish they wouldn't cater to the casual fans so much for an event like this. I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah, the draft has always been more of a, I guess, hardcore event. Yeah, you're right, honestly, but I'm trying to think, how did Mike Greenberg do, Ryan? I didn't watch any Mike Greenberg. I felt lost without hearing him at some point, either on Get Up or some other ESPN show. How did he do compared to Trey Wingo on ESPN?
He wasn't as good as Wingo. He wasn't as good as Chris Berman. I think that he gets a lot of unnecessary hate just because of who he is, but I'd like to see them maybe get a different option to host next year. They've got so many people at ESPN. I find it hard to believe they couldn't get somebody better to host the NFL draft.
That's a shame. I mean, he was getting hyped up for a while. I listened to it on the radio, like I hinted at on our draft show last week. That was much more suspenseful. Much more suspenseful. Liked it a lot more. I recommend it. ESPN Radio is what I listened to it on. It was not a simulcast, thankfully. It was Kevin Negandhi, Philly guy, Ryan, L. Duncan, Mike Tannenbaum, Bart Scott, can't wait, and then someone Fitzsimmons, I forget his first name. They're one of their college guys. Very informative. Enjoyed that much more than watching it. So if anyone wants to listen to the draft and then just do something else in the background, I recommend doing that. That was much better than watching it on TV.
I understand they're paying Greeny a lot of money, but like I would have been fine with Nagandi. I would have loved Scott Van Pelt. I think Scott Van Pelt would have been perfect to host the NFL draft. He has the right personality for it. I just think Greeny sometimes gets a little too over the top. Especially he interviewed Goodell. It was just so hard to watch. It almost made me turn off the TV. But I don't know. We'll see. My mock draft, I need to pat myself on the back a little bit here. I scored 46 points, which was a point down from last year, but still I was happy with how it went. I think I got 9 or 10 team predictions correct and 46 overall points, so we'll see if I can keep that up next year. I was happy that the Eagles got Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, and they traded up with the Cowboys to jump ahead of the Giants to get him because you could tell the Giants wanted to get him. Matt, the Patriots, they didn't trade up for a quarterback, but they did get Tom Brady 2.0 and Mac Jones. So when you heard we were kind of texting in the group chat, so I guess you could have kind of assumed what was happening. But when you heard that it was official, what was your reaction?
Well, I wanted Justin Fields. I had my phone out at FC Monmouth practice following along. I really wanted Justin Fields, and we were so close too. But like I mentioned on the show last week, Bill never trades up, so did not surprise me that they didn't make a move up for him. And Jones has been linked to the Patriots for the longest time. I didn't want it to be true. I became very anti-Mac, and now he's our quarterback. So now I'm pro-Mac, I guess. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like he's less athletic than Tom Brady was coming out of college, which doesn't really say much, but we'll see, I guess. I don't know. The meme potential for Mac Jones, though, especially with the commercial that kid did with Cam Newton back when he was on the Panthers, the meme potential was there, so I appreciated that aspect of it, but they got their guy, it seemed like. There was a lot of collaboration, it seemed like, from the draft room video that the Patriots put out on social media, so we'll see, I guess. I like their draft more what they did after it, not so much the Mac Jones pick.
I was a little surprised. I didn't think the board was going to fall that way where a QB was still going to be there at 15. I was a little surprised that Carolina didn't go quarterback. I kind of felt like they would try to, especially after they traded Teddy, I thought maybe they would have tried to find someone just in case Darnold didn't work, but it seems like they're really trying to get behind Sam Darnold, which I can kind of appreciate, I can kind of respect. If I was a betting man, I don't think it's going to work out, with those two. So I thought maybe they try to get another young QB, but I think Justin Fields, I'd say, went to a more intriguing scenario than Carolina. Chicago, a team that hasn't had a quarterback in God knows how long. So I really hope Chicago doesn't mess him up because I like Justin Fields a lot, and I really want it to work in Chicago. I've never really seen Chicago with a really good quarterback. I mean, Cutler was solid, but I would love to see the Bears be good with a top-tier quarterback, and I think Fields can do that as long as Nagy and Pace don't ruin him, which I'm crossing my fingers.
Well, they need to get him some more weapons, too. I mean, the longest time we've criticized Chicago for was just their lack of ability to score points, and that was partially, in fact, to Trubisky. As you mentioned, the coaching didn't always make the best play calls from time to time. They went from not running the ball at all to running the ball too much, then back to not throwing the ball at all. So we'll see. I do think Fields provides the most intrigue, as you said. I hope he succeeds there. I really do. The whole Allen Robinson thing, that should give some hope that Robinson might be around long term because they got him a quarterback that might actually be able to get him the ball. You brought up Carolina. We talked about it, how they went all defense last year, and they did the same exact thing this year, at least in the first round. They continued that trend. They were able to get some offensive pieces a little bit later, but I respect the fact that Carolina is building up the defense, Ryan. I really do. Because I think, Ryan, and you and I disagree here, I think Sam Darnold is going to work out in Carolina. You got Robbie Anderson there. You got some other weapons there. It's just a lot better of a situation than Adam Gase in the New York media. He's going down to a small market in a division to where you're going to play some good competition with some good players. I think it'll work out. I have confidence in the Panthers to be able to do it.
I've said it before. I understand the new situation. It's just I really would have liked to have seen him flash a little more with the Jets. I get that everything was working against him, but I would have liked to have at least seen something, and I didn't see it. So listen, I hope it works out. I like Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was the first person I ever talked about on the Extra Point at Hawk TV at Monmouth. So I'm always going to have that connection with him. I'm pretty sure I supported him in that debate that I did with our good friend Nate. But I just, as I said, if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet against it working out. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. The Raiders drafted a meme connoisseur with their first-round pick. That was probably the highlight of the first round. The Raiders, once again, it seemed like they forgot how to draft. I read a report over the weekend that heads were apparently going to roll in the front office, and with my brief research that I just conducted, it doesn't seem like heads have rolled yet. But I don't know whose fault it is with the way that the drafts are being done with the Raiders. I mean, this is like the second or third year in a row now where they just do something completely asinine and everybody agrees with it. Like, there was nobody when they picked Leatherwood in the first round that said, you know what, great pick, I like what they did. There was nobody, not one analyst, not one person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look. There were definitely other guys that they could have gotten, they could have traded back to. We talked about it, I don't know if it was on Thursday or last week, how they've reached before. You talked about it in your point just then. Like, John Gruden has a guy, and they get the guy. And the crazier part about it, Ryan, is that Mike Mayock's there, right? I mean, I feel like this is something that we don't talk about enough, right? Wasn't he one of the more premier draft guys with NFL Network, right?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Like, I hate to be ignorant. I don't know who is in charge of the draft for the Raiders. I don't know if Gruden has the final say. I don't know if it's Mayock. I don't know if there's like some type of collaboration, but something somewhere is getting messed up. Like, this is not the way they're doing it. It's not how you build a team. I'd like to think it's not Gruden because even if it was Gruden, he has that 10-year contract. He's not going anywhere. So if anyone's going to fall on the sword, it's got to be Mayock. But if it is Mayock, it's not a good look for him. Although I'm sure if he does get fired, he'll be right back on TV. I guess it doesn't matter, but
But he was such a trusted voice for this kind of stuff. And then to go into the situation, that was one of the reasons that he was brought in, because he's really good at evaluating talent, and you combine him with the experience of Gruden, and yeah, I was very surprised. Our resident Raider fan was kind of surprised by that as well. I mean, at least they picked a lineman, right? After they just completely obliterated their entire offensive line from last year. At least they picked the guy. We said it last week. At least they did it. That's a positive. So at least they kind of know what they're doing. But, obviously Darisaw was still there. There's a couple other guys that were a little further down. But Leatherwood at 17, I don't think anybody had that, like even in the first round, let alone that high up.
Listen, it's the fun thing about the draft. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe the Raiders did something smart, but I see people say that you can't grade a draft right now, and I used to be one of those people, but at the same time, you can give some analysis on, based on the information we have right now, based on the value of different players, who was on the board, who they left. You can make some takes about, well, that was a stupid pick. They should have done something else. And the way the Raiders handle the draft, there's a guy they got in the 4th round, a safety, I think is going to be pretty solid. But when you're talking about a 4th round pick being one of their best guys, you probably didn't have a very good draft. So, as you said, our resident Raiders fan, he told us the week or two prior they're going to do something stupid in the 1st round. They're going to reach, and he was right. We should have listened to him. He was right. I'm trying to think what else. Trey Lance, we should make a point of. I cannot wait for the deep dive that's done on The Athletic or whatever site at some point about how nobody in the organization knew that they were taking Trey Lance until the pick was announced. Like, that's pretty hard to pull off. We talked about on the podcast how the 49ers as an organization don't leak anything, but that is really impressive that nobody knew in the organization that they weren't going to pick Mac Jones and they were going to go Trey Lance. That's very surprising.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by the pick, too, in general, because we all thought that Mac Jones was the Kyle Shanahan prototype quarterback, and then they ended up with Trey Lance, who knows, he could end up being the best quarterback of this class. I mean, he's the big unknown, as everyone has said in the media. He could very well be a really good hit for it. I think this more so signals that Jimmy Garoppolo is not going anywhere. The Patriots never called about Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of a serious call. Jimmy's there. And if he could put together a full season, Ryan, and lead them to the playoffs, that provides a little bit more of an intrigue, in my opinion, because you draft a guy in Trey Lance. And this, to me, signals Garoppolo is playing this season. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's where I think they're going to go, because he's too expensive to move. And if he plays a full season, then you can really kind of get some value for him if you do think Trey Lance is the guy.
I think that Garoppolo will start the 2021 season. I think that Trey Lance takes over at some point. I saw a report that had said that they took Trey Lance because they felt he had a better chance to start in 2021 as opposed to Mac Jones, which obviously, but I do think that Lance takes over for Jimmy G at some point. I think that Jimmy G, unless he gets out and plays like he did a couple years ago when he brought him to the Super Bowl, but I find it hard to believe that Shanahan's not going to want to get Trey Lance involved there early. I saw some speculation that maybe they use Trey Lance in like a Taysom Hill role. I think that could be kind of cool, but I do agree that this means that Jimmy G is going to be there until, he's going to be there for at least the start of the season.
Now let me ask you this. How many of those 5 quarterbacks do you think will play in 2021? I think 4.
I'll go all 5. I really think that Mac is going to get in over Cam at some point. I think that whether it's due to injury or poor performance, I think Mac gets a start. I saw Lance, Wilson, and Lawrence are obviously going to start. And then then yeah. So I'll go 5. I'll go all 5.
The only one I don't think is Action Mac. I think that just let Cam Newton play. I mean, I think we owe it to the guy after the season we put him through last year to at least go out there and have a fair shot at it. Will Mac Jones be ready? I mean, my whole thing is last year everyone talked about Jarrett Stidham being the next coming of like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, like the best quarterback ever. Stidham did not start a game. Brian Hoyer got the one start that Cam Newton didn't. So what does that say about Belichick and trusting young guys as opposed to Cam Newton? I don't know if Mac Jones is going to carry a little bit different weight than Jarrett Stidham, but I'll go 4 out of the 5. I think this might be a redshirt year for Mac. Then Cam Newton gets off the books, and then you just give it to him next year.
So let me ask you this. The Patriots made 8 picks in the draft. They could have made 9, but they forfeited one of their third-round picks because they cheated. Who was your favorite pick that they made in the entire draft?
I like the guy out of Oklahoma, Perkins, one of a more versatile kind of defensive player that Belichick likes. I really think everyone, we talked about Mac Jones, but all the picks pretty much underneath Jones will bring a lot of value. They addressed every need. I think not getting a wide receiver early on might come back to bite them, but they don't draft well at wide receiver anyway, so the fan base needs to stop complaining about that. You don't like the Barmore pick. I do. Bill always needs a big, giant nose tackle or defensive tackle in the middle. You look at Danny Shelton, Lawrence Guy, Vince Wilfork. I mean, there's always been just a very large man in the middle to stop the run. He's going to take over that spot. But my favorite would be Perkins, though, out of Oklahoma. That was probably my favorite pick.
The Barmore thing for me, if the report was true about him having a resistance to coaching, it's just I don't know if he resisted Saban, why he would suddenly get it right under Belichick. Like, they're both kind of the same person.
Because Belichick's giving him money. That's the difference.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. He has the he should have been a first-round pick. I will admit that. I had him as a first-round pick. I thought he'd go to Tampa Bay, 32nd overall. Talent-wise, in a weak interior defensive line class, he was head and shoulders above the rest. But I need to, you talk about waiting and seeing all the time. I got to wait and see that he's going to play well in the league. I will say for the Eagles, it was Devontae Smith, obviously. One of 4 wide receivers ever, I think, to win the Heisman. And the first one since the 80s, maybe early 90s. So it doesn't happen a lot. I need to say, I think this fan base just likes to get pissed off about anything. They like to be upset. They like to be angry, which I get to an extent. But it's just after every single pick, I just saw like somebody say, stupid pick. Why would they do this? Like, give them a chance at least. Like, it's this team. People think that we could have drafted a cornerback in the 3rd round and would be a Super Bowl contender. This team has so many holes. We're just trying. This team, whether you like it or not, is in a rebuild. We need to just try to get some young guys, no matter what position they're at. We can't just draft for position. We just got to try to draft the best young players that we can that are going to hopefully be here for as long as possible. Drafting for need with the position the Eagles are in would have been a huge mistake. So I'll admit, I like the Eagles draft class. I think they made a lot of good picks. Whether or not they work out, only time will tell. But I don't have any complaints. Maybe you could say that they should have picked Asante Samuel Jr. in the 2nd round instead of Landon Dickerson. Okay, I would have been happy with that too. But I like Dickerson a lot. The torn ACLs, they don't bother me at all. I like the Eagles draft class as a whole. I was happy with it. I think Howie redeemed himself this year.
Well, he was catching a lot more slander on Twitter than what you would have indicated with that point. You talked about the fan base. I love the Devontae Smith pick. If you're gonna put all this faith into Jalen Hurts, give him a guy that he played with, right? Give him the Heisman Trophy winner. Invest in your quarterback by getting things around him. The Alabama lineman and Dickerson, right? I mean, you're investing in Hurts by putting stuff around him. So I was surprised they didn't pick Samuel just because of the legacy pick there. But But I think regardless, they had a really solid class as well. Devontae Smith, we talked about it before. He's undersized, yes, but I said this before. NFL weight rooms will change him by this time next year. Give him 1 year in it, and he'll be fine.
GQ did a phenomenal article about him. I think the author was Tyler Tynes. I'm pretty sure it was a fantastic look into who he is as a person. So if anybody out there hasn't read that, I would recommend it. But that was the NFL draft. We'll see next year what ends up happening. I've heard that the quarterbacks right now for the 22 draft don't really compare to this crop of quarterbacks that we saw this year, which as a fan of a team that might need a quarterback, that's not very reassuring. But I don't know. We'll see. I am happy that you said that. I think you made a good point, reuniting Jalen Hurts with Devontae Smith. We saw that a lot. I mean, we saw Tua get reunited with Jalen Waddle. Joe Burrow got reunited with Jamar Chase. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne are going to be together. So that was a theme. Listen, it's not the worst plan. If you want to get some good chemistry going early, get somebody that they played with. It sounds good on paper, so maybe it'll actually work.
I mean, it's also good just from the aspect that the Eagles did not have wide receiver consistency for the better part of 2 to 3 years. So just to get a guy who's been consistent in Devontae Smith, seeing what he did in his last year at Alabama, I think it's a good pick regardless. You know who had a great draft, Ryan, is the New York Jets, and I don't think people are talking about it enough. I don't know if you agree with me. Trading up, getting Tucker on top of Wilson, then getting some other weapons for him. I don't think people are talking about that enough.
They got flamed, and I kind of am on that side that the trade-up was really bad. Now, if Vera Tucker turns into an all-pro lineman, then all this doesn't matter. But they gave up a heck of a lot to go up to 14 to get Vera Tucker. Like that. Listen, I said that based on what we know right now in the Valley and everything else, we can evaluate and give our own takes. In my opinion, I don't think I would have done that. That was a lot to give up to move up to 14 to get Elijah Vera Tucker. I get that he was the best guard in the draft. I still think that was probably a pretty bad move.
I see it more from the aspect, again, like I talked about with Hurts, protecting your investment. It's what we talked about with Joe Burrow and what the Bengals did not do and getting Sewell. I get that it's a lot, but at the same time, if he turns out to be one of those 10-year consistent guards, I mean, it's a big if, but you put him on the same line as Mekhi Becton. They got a couple other offensive weapons that we didn't touch on yet, and you get your quarterback of the future on top of some of the guys they brought in free agency. I thought it was a good move to, in a sense, Ryan, I know you gave up a lot, and I know this is a team in my division that I'm praising right now, but they've been bad for so long that you kind of have to make a move like that, right? I mean, you got to start putting some talent on the field because there's a lot of people that are getting antsy up in MetLife Stadium. So I thought it was a good draft overall. The Tucker move could be debated, but I think as a whole, what they were able to get for Zach Wilson was pretty solid.
As you said, if he starts 10 years, this all goes out the window. Obviously, it was a good trade, but that's what you're counting on, and it's obviously a big risk.
What I'm saying is if you exclude what they gave up and you just look at the players that they got, would you agree that it's a pretty solid haul for this year's draft? Considering the situation that roster is currently in.
They did get both Michael Carters, which I thought was a good move. Like, if you're going to go out, you might as well just get both of them. On paper, they got good guys. It's just the way they accomplished getting those guys, I don't know if it was the smartest use of their assets.
I mean, we'll see. I like them being aggressive, though. If you're a bad team and you need to just start getting guys, be aggressive. And if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. I know you and I might disagree in terms of the going for it aspect of it, but we'll see. And what surprised me more, too, is for a defensive-minded head coach, Ryan, their first defensive guy didn't come until the 5th round. So they're really making an effort to rebuild this offense that really hasn't been good since we were, the 1 year in college maybe when Fitzpatrick was there. It's been abysmal. So you get Elijah Moore, you get Zach Wilson. Obviously, you said both Michael Carters, but the offensive Michael Carter. So I thought they did pretty well. I thought most of the teams in the AFC East did pretty decent with the draft.
I will say the other New York team, the Giants, one of the other New York teams, I don't want to disrespect Buffalo, they had probably one of the worst picks of the draft in Kadarius Toney. That's not up for discussion. The Colts picked Sam Ehlinger. I'm surprised that Wentz hasn't requested a trade yet. I'm sure that didn't make him too happy. But, yeah, we'll see. There's another NFL thing I wanted to talk about. The news just came out today. And it was that the Amazon Prime Thursday night streaming package is being moved up a year, so it's going to start sooner than it was supposed to. And we were talking about it briefly. We wanted to save it for the podcast. It's the streaming service boom has just become such a pain in the ass. You're required to, like, cable's almost a better option at this point, in my opinion. Like, these streaming services were created because cable was so overpriced and you weren't getting a lot. Well, now it's the other way around. Now you have to pay like $10, $15 a month for multiple streaming services. Like, if you want to watch the NHL coming up, you'll need ESPN Plus and you'll need HBO Max. If you want to watch the NFL on Thursday night, you need to get Amazon Prime. If you want to watch soccer, you need to get Paramount Plus. If you want to watch this, you need to get it's so stupid. Like, I hate it. Like, I don't know if that's like a boomer thing to say, but all these streaming services, it's starting to piss me off a little bit, quite frankly. I'll come out and say it. I'll come out against the streaming services. I'll be the brave one. I hate it. It's stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, eventually, hopefully, we'll just have Disney own everything, and then we just pay one thing, right? I mean, Disney's already got the Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus. So we just need them to keep buying everything. And then I know monopolies aren't a great thing, Ryan, but it's great for us because we don't have to pay for 8 different things, right? I mean, so we just got to wait 5 to 10 years for Disney to purchase everything. But I don't like how live sports are moving to subscription services. The one thing that I've always loved about live sports, outside of like the MLB TV, NBA League, like, to watch out-of-market games, I get it, right? But to just put everything under a paywall, I don't really agree with, especially for the NFL. The one awesome thing about the NFL for the longest time, Ryan, is there's no paywall to watch their content, live at least, right? You have the NFL Game Pass that you could watch, at least in America, everything after the fact, but now that you're putting a live game in market or out of market on under a paywall, I don't really get that.
We're not the pop culture podcast, that's Jabberjays, and they put out a new episode today, so go check it out. But like in that aspect, it affects you too, just because, like, if you want to watch just one movie, but it's on this streaming service, well, then you kind of have to get it. But then you want to watch this TV series, that's on the other streaming service, so you got to pay for that. But the sports, I mean, we'll focus on the sports aspect of it. I agree. Like, for a sector that you would think would want to try to bring in as much fan engagement as possible, and Major League Baseball's been getting flamed for this for years because of the blackout thing, but even if the blackouts didn't exist, just putting everything and all these different streaming services, I get from a league point of view, it makes sense because you're getting money, right? But for a fan aspect, it drives people away, I feel like. Which I don't think that's what we should be going for in 2021 when you have so many other options about what to watch. You shouldn't be pushing people away.
Well, I'm going to sound like I'm old. I like turning on the TV and the game being on the TV. I don't want to have to HDMI the laptop or use Google Chromecast, whatever, to beam it up to the TV or watch it on the laptop. I like to turn on the game and watch it on my couch. I don't know if I'm sounding really old in that aspect, but we're approaching, I mean, I think it's going to hurt the NHL more than any other sport because you're going to have, as you said, 2 different subscription services, and the NHL, more than any other sport in this country, really needs to benefit from having live games on just basic cable, at least in my opinion.
That's the thing. Like, I get why you want to have two different providers, but to push some things on ESPN Plus and push other things on HBO Max, that's let's say hypothetically you get the ESPN bundle. So that's right now is $14.36. And then you get HBO Max, which I think is $15 a month. You're paying like $30 a month just to watch some NHL games. If all you care about is sports. Because there's some people that could care less what the other stuff offers, what the other services offer. So at that point, you're paying $30 just to watch NHL games. Like, that's going to push people away. Like, NHL season goes from October to June for the finals. Like, that's what? How many months would that be? 9
It's
months,
almost the whole
maybe?
year. Yeah.
So
that's
that would be
75% of the year.
That's like $270 to watch NHL games. Like, that's ridiculous. You got to make it accessible to people. You can't just be like that. As I said, I get the money is king, but like, this isn't how you entice people to watch.
Well, the one sport that I think is doing it right is the NBA. You look at if you go through the week, ESPN has 2 doubleheaders a week usually. TNT has 1 to 2 doubleheaders a week. That right there is like close to 8 or 10 games on top of all the games NBA TV does, which once was a premium kind of channel, right? The MLB network, NFL network, NBA, like the league specific networks. Now that's kind of thrown in with every cable package for the most part. So the NBA I think is doing it right, to where there's a lot of games. ABC does a Saturday night primetime game, sometimes a Sunday afternoon game. One of the more accessible leagues out there. The NFL, the same thing, right? You got all the primetime games. Of course, now one of them's moving behind a paywall. I think those two leagues, in terms of just putting their stuff on places where people can access it, I think that's what it should be.
I'll say motorsports even has made things really accessible. Like NASCAR, that's definitely a league that I could see the argument for pushing something to a streaming service, but they've kept it on cable channels forever. Now, I don't know with the NBC Sports Network thing, I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, but for at least for right now, everything's easily accessible. F1, it's on ESPN or ESPN2 every week. That's easily accessible. IndyCar, it's on ABC or ESPN. Like, it's all like motorsports, surprisingly, is up there at the top with the NBA too.
Every golf tournament, every single week.
Yeah.
Golf, in the demographic for golf, Ryan, is much less kind of broad than these big league sports, right? I mean, golf is like such a niche sport, like your motorsports. In every single week for 4 straight days, at least there's like a couple hours worth of coverage, right? I know that sometimes like the ESPN Plus or like the Golf Channel Plus, whatever it is, like the featured holes or whatever, but I don't really care about that. If I could just throw it on in the background, that's what it is. So, yeah, I don't, as a young college graduate who has no money, I don't like the direction that sports are going in with that aspect. With anything. I mean, it stinks that I got to pay to watch my favorite movies, but we live in a capitalist society, so that's just kind of the principle of it, which is fine. But again, as a postgraduate guy who has no money, I don't like it.
I'm not a math guy. I was a comm major. But I think that especially in our generation, some people are going to be paying more a year for streaming services than they are for the rent of their apartment or their house, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, I think we're starting to head in that direction. It's not going to be everybody, because some people don't care. Some people are just happy to have, maybe some people, they're happy to just have Netflix. It has everything that they need, so they just need that. But other people, they're going to want everything. They're going to want Netflix. They're going to want Hulu, Disney, ESPN Plus. They're going to want Discovery Plus and everything that offers with like the HGTV and all that other stuff. And then they're going to want HBO Max, and they're going to want Paramount Plus. They're going to want everything. So I feel like at some point, like, I think that's that's a possibility, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you forget too, I know this is more of a Jabberjays topic, but Spotify, Apple Music, it's going to teach us how to budget, Ryan. It's going to bring us back to what was that class we had to take in high school?
Intro to personal finance. Oh, yeah, good point.
Dave Ramsey would be. Who else was
the Dave Ramsey? The Dave Ramsey thing. That there were probably better ways to go about it. But I hate, especially with the kids that we went to high school with, when they share stuff like this. Oh, why didn't high schools ever teach us to do taxes or do a check or this or that? They did. There was a whole class on it that you had to take. They did teach us how to do that. Like, you can't, like, I get not every high school offers it. Like, we comparatively were kind of lucky because I know not every high school offers a class like that. But we got it. You can't say that they didn't teach it. You just didn't pay attention. I hate that.
Yeah, it was an interesting method how they went about it in that class to some extent, as you mentioned, with the whole Dave Ramsey videos and stuff. But we did have a class like that. I think that that's a class that should be at least offered in a lot more high schools. But again, we also went to one of the biggest high schools in South Jersey. So, like, our opportunities we had on the TV station, too, like, a lot of it is not comparative to the average high school in the state. But, yeah, we're going to have to bring out our old notes from that class run on how to budget our streaming services.
Like Dave Ramsey didn't talk about budgeting HBO Max and Hulu back then. So I'd love to know what he thinks about now. As you said, that's pop culture and sports intertwined. So we could kind of fit it in there. So we talk about NFL draft. Baseball, my team is dead, so I don't want to talk about them. But your team is still hanging around. We're a month into the season. I think I saw a stat that if you're leading the division after April, there's like a 52% chance you make the playoffs, which that's not nothing. As I said, you can't win the division in April, but you can either put yourself in a good position to keep going or you can put yourselves a far ways out. Your Red Sox right now, 17-12, which is one of the best records in baseball still. So how are you feeling? Are you buying in, or are you just waiting for it to all kind of come crumbling down?
Well, it wasn't a very good series in Arlington over the weekend. I was very happy, Ryan, that I got out of it yesterday because I had to work. I'm like, thankfully, I didn't have to watch Adam Ottavino blow yet another game. You bring out his like ABC stats of how he's like good. Ryan, he sucks. He's terrible. He's not a good pitcher. He's a Yankee operative sent in to lose games for the Red Sox. That is what he is. Listen, the Red Sox overall are still a good team in my eyes. Good, I use good as a figurative term. Good compared to what we were supposed to be. Will they make the playoffs? I don't know. Glenn's happy the Yankees are starting to win games again. They also played the Tigers, so I don't really know what stock you put in that. We play the Tigers next, so maybe we'll get a couple wins there. So, I don't know. Ottavino sucks. Some of the other guys that we have in our pitching staff are starting to get a little too shaky for my liking, but hey, that was only going to last so long regarding our hot start, so we'll see.
Well, Matt, Ottavino's FIP is 3.51, but his ERA is 5.40. I think his big thing right now, he's walking a lot of guys more than he ever has before. His walks per 9 innings is 8.10, which is not good. I think if he walks less guys, he'll be fine. If that gives you any comfort.
He can't find the strike zone to begin with. So how am I going to have confidence in that? Listen, I'm telling you, he's a Yankee operative sent in to lose us games. That's just what it is. Why else would the Yankees trade a player to us? Why? They wouldn't trade us a good player. They would trade us a bad player.
Give him another month. Give him one more month. We'll revisit this in June. We'll see if he gets any better. Yeah, give him some time. It's still early in the season.
No. I will say there's a couple players that have impressed me. You mentioned a 52% chance to make the playoffs. I bet that other 58 or 48 is the Mariners not making the playoffs after starting out hot, which seems to be every year. I don't expect the Red Sox to really win the division, not even make the playoffs, but Listen, everyone's allowed me to enjoy the nice month of April. I'm very happy because we're in a group chat of Yankee fans. I'm very happy they at least let me enjoy it a little bit. Because I've been realistic. You have to give me credit. I've been realistic about this team. But Adam Ottavino stinks. He is just not good right now. And who knows, maybe he'll turn out to be a very good option, but why would you bring him in, Ryan, as a setup man? And then, of course, Brock Holt had to win the game for the Rangers yesterday and just drive a dagger into my heart.
Well, as I said, my baseball team, they went through a 10-year-long rebuild, and they gave me a steaming pile of crap as a reward for sitting through that for 10 years. So I'm not a Phillies fan anymore until they start giving me a reason to be. I watched all the games at the start of the season, didn't miss a game. Now they're in my Flyers category where they need to prove to me that they care about putting a winning product on the field, because this is unacceptable, especially in this type of market, in this type of city. It's like they don't care about winning, which is upsetting.
I really hope that Philly fans will take that and put love into the Sixers, because we've talked about this off the air before. It's a football and hockey town, and it can be baseball town too when the Phillies are good. But I really want the Sixers to get some love this year, Ryan. I think it's just the most untapped potential in this city for the Sixers, especially with all the meme-worthy kind of players, the guys that help contribute to like the excitement. I really hope your boys get some love now that the Phillies kind of stink.
All we have is the Sixers at this point, so
it's a good team to have.
We'll see. So that was baseball. It was the Rock's birthday. We need to make that a point over the weekend. So happy birthday, Mr. Rock. Had to get that out there. Matt, I did not watch any Star Wars, so we can't talk about that. But you have been watching something that myself and Glenn have been telling you to watch for months, and you're making some progress on it. So you finally started watching Schitt's Creek, and you said you just finished season 2, so you got 4 more seasons left. How are you feeling after the first 2 seasons? Was it a good use of your time to invest in this series?
Yeah, it's definitely. And listen, I always hate the argument when people say shows start out slow, because that's every show, right? I hate when people, like, I've seen that argument, not necessarily with Schitt's Creek, but with other shows. You got to give shows at least a season or 2 to pick up. I really liked it from the beginning. I know Glenn watched it, I guess, during football season last year, maybe a little earlier. I can't remember. But in any case, I put it off until now. This is my streaming season. It's like after the Red Sox game ends, it's like 10 o'clock, and I need a show to watch. This is when I watch shows, and I like Schitt's Creek a lot. I like the kind of subtle humor a lot of times with it. Like, it's not so, I don't know if you agree with me in that aspect, but there's a lot of subtle jokes and references too in there. Roland is quite the character. I like when he makes an appearance. And then obviously, just the whole plot of it, I like. Zach still doesn't know who Dan Levy is. We gotta, even though he used a GIF of him, right? So we gotta get Zach to know who he is.
That was unacceptable. You can't use a GIF of somebody if you don't know who it is, especially for a family as powerful as the Levys. You can't do that. It's like, I almost want to suspend him for 12 hours for that's a major atrocity.
It's Levy. I put him in the same category as Mike Levy. Excuse me. But his character in the show, I love his character in the show too. And I think the side characters also make this show great too. Like, we talk about it with The Office a lot too, and a lot of other shows similar to this. But the side characters I really like. So I want to keep watching for sure. I'm starting to see kind of, I don't want to say, it's just like the popular clips that you see on like Facebook and Twitter. I'm starting to see them pop up, so now I know the context of them, which is what I like. So, yeah.
There's not a bad character in the show. Roland's polarizing, but I think people appreciate him enough.
Why is he polarizing? Does he turn into...
Because of the way he acts. some people don't like it too much when he just sticks his hand into the food. I guess people have an issue with that. Like we've all been there. So
He's supposed, but I feel like his character's supposed to be the polar opposite of the Roses. I feel like that's the whole point.
It is, but people still don't like him just because of the way he acts. Which I mean, I get it. If you had to deal with that guy in real life, you might not like him either. But I was enamored with him immediately. The first time I saw him, I was like, this guy's going to be something good. And he was. Chris Elliott is an amazing actor. He played that role perfectly. I love Bob. That little kind of jog he does. Like that's always the highlight of the episode whenever you get to see that.
Yeah, I forgot about the jog. Now that I think about it, every scene he comes in is just a little...
That's his trademark.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's a really good show. We need to get Zach on it so we could complete the group chat. There's not many shows that the group chat has watched, like, completely. Right? I mean, like, maybe The Office. That might be it, honestly. That might be our only show in common. Have you seen Seinfeld?
No.
Okay, so we don't have Seinfeld. So we need to get Zach on that so we could get another show that everyone has watched.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It is just The Office. I mean, I guess maybe SpongeBob, but in terms of
I don't really count. Yeah, I don't count shows from the childhood because we've all seen all those shows. Everything from like high school on. I feel like we need to start counting.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of any other ones. Maybe Family Guy, but
that's true.
I don't know. So yeah, that, as I said, you have 4 seasons up, so we'll check in again here in maybe a week or two, a couple of weeks, see how things are going.
And I'm saving Jersey Shore for the summer because I think that's an appropriate time. I've told this to Glenn. We'll bring him back on and we'll do some analysis. I feel like that's the appropriate time to watch that show. So the one good thing about Schitt's Creek is that their 20-minute episodes all be done a season in like a week. So, and there's only like 13 episodes a season. Knock out 1 or 2 a night, sometimes 3. So yeah, we'll get on Jersey Shore this summer. We'll get Glenn back on. He's very eager to get back on when you finish Star Wars as well, whenever that happens. But he's mad at me though, Glenn. Or Glenn is mad at me, Ryan, because of my take on ice cream sandwiches, which leads us into your new segment that you started last week in terms of talking about food.
But I gotta apologize. I meant to do this at the top. It's not DiStefano. That's the other podcast they do. It's Sal and Joe DeRosa is the guy that does it, the Taste Buds one. And coincidentally, Glenn had sent in the group chat, because he did a poll on Instagram, Chipwich or original ice cream sandwich. And there were a couple members of our group chat of 4 people who said original ice cream sandwich. And so I sent Glenn this podcast episode of Taste Buds because they had actually just done this exact one a few months ago. Maybe, I guess it was January, so longer. I don't respect people that say original ice cream sandwich. I just don't know what could compel somebody. And he sent us a screenshot of the people who had voted for original ice cream sandwich at the time. It was concerning, the amount of names that I thought I could respect and count on for anything. And now I know that I can't count on them for a lot of things because they voted for original ice cream sandwich. It's just, right. I don't get it.
I could build a great starting 5 with the screenshot of people that he sent me. And that's not even counting Zach, who will be our 6th man in this scenario. You got me, you got Steph Young, you got Papetti, you got Allie, and you got Noah. That's a really solid starting 5. And then you got Cosenza off the bench. I was very happy to see other people agreed with me on that. But I also wanted to tell Glenn that I'm very easygoing with food, and I had to make a split-second decision. The time was running out on his poll. I had to pick something.
No, you can't. Pressure. You still picked ice cream sandwich. I don't want to hear that. No,
it's unreliable, man. Sometimes, the Chipwich is more of like a premium kind of snack, in my opinion. You just got to go. You just need a quick ice cream sandwich. The original is the way to go. But I had to make a decision on the fly, and I got penalized for my decision big time. I served my suspension in the group chat. Now I'm back. but I don't know if we could ever recover from the debacle of ice cream sandwiches.
I can't trust you and Zach anymore. Like, I'm gonna just steal all the arguments that Sal presented because I can't think of anyone better. It If you eat an ice cream sandwich, the ice cream comes out the sides when you eat it. Your fingers just get all the chocolate shit on them. They
only
can't
if you're
get it off.
pressing down, you have to
No,
use the
no matter
wrapper.
what.
You keep the wrapper on, and then it holds the ice cream in there. If you're pressing down really hard, then yeah, obviously the ice cream's going to come out, and yeah, obviously the chocolate's going to get on your hands. Just don't squeeze it. Just hold it
It doesn't matter. You could be as
delicately.
light on it as possible. Just the tips of your fingertips as light as possible. It's still gonna get on you. It's still gonna come out the sides. It
Then
melts
wash your
immediately. It takes. You can't just you can't savor it. You gotta shove it down your throat because it just becomes a mess if you don't eat it quickly. At least with a Chipwich, you can take your time. It doesn't get messy. You can enjoy it. You got the chocolate chips on the side. It's all perfect. You can't
Okay,
argue against it. This isn't
no,
up for
I
discussion.
told
No, this
you
isn't
I
up for
like both.
discussion. This is not up for discussion. We're done. We're moving on. That's
I
it.
said I liked both. I don't know why I got criticized. Zach was the one who really was strongly in favor of the original. I said to Glenn, I would eat either. It's just whatever's in the freezer at the time. I'll eat whatever. I had to make a decision on the fly. And
But you still voted for original ice cream
Well,
sandwich.
yeah, I didn't want it to feel left out. I mean, he obviously... The one thing with Glenn is he was really smart about this. He picked a very nice-looking Chipwich and then just a very bad picture of the original.
No,
So,
see,
yeah,
no,
he did.
no, and
Yeah,
he
he did.
he addressed that too. He said,
He said the best original is not better than the worst Chipwich. And that still was a very phenomenal picture of a Chipwich compared to the original.
you could find some celebrity baker put together a nice ice cream sandwich. It's still going to pale in comparison to some Chipwich that's been sitting in the freezer for 6 months. It's not. You can't compare the two. One is clearly better than the other. It's not even a competition. We never got Zach's reasoning. I meant to see why he chose original ice cream sandwich. You never got his reasoning.
It was very, very good timing for him to let me take the heat for my decision, and then he voted, and then that was when Glenn's phone died, and then we never revisited the topic.
I'm
Are you
sending
asking
a
him-
text, and yes, I want to see if he can get back to us before we finish the podcast. Okay. By the way, yes, I'm gonna recommend it heavily again. Taste Buds. I've been going. They started it back in November or December, so I've been making my way through all of the episodes. It's really, really good. It's obviously not on the Best Available Player podcast network, but if you guys are looking for a podcast after you listen to all the ones here, go check out Taste Buds. It's really a good use of your time. They're quick episodes. They go by way quicker than you would expect. So go check it out. Along with watching, I watched the YouTube versions. I also watched this weekend the Soundtown Music Festival. That was a great, fun 2-day event. It was great timing because I got my second COVID shot, so it was great to have something to do this weekend while recovering from that. We're very thankful to Russ and Eric for organizing it and putting everything together, getting all the bands interested, getting the charity aspect all set up. Russ got to interview Chuck Pagano, which was really neat. That was a fun interview. It was great to see Chuck. And we're incredibly thankful for all of the bands who took the time to put together some really neat sets for us. Some did it solo, some did full band. So it was a nice mix. It was a nice group of different locations. It wasn't just all the same, which was really cool. So they were all very, very good. They're all talented. You can just go on our website. We still have it on the homepage. If you scroll down, you can see the video for day 1 in its entirety, the video for day 2 in its entirety. There's still a donate link. You can still learn about the Chuck and Tina Pagano Cancer Research Fund and the IU Simon Brent Cancer Center. So if you do want to go back and watch it again, or if you didn't get a chance this weekend, if you were too busy, just go to the website, bestavailableplayer.com, and you can see it. It was about 3 hours each day, Saturday and Sunday, and it was a great use of my time. I'm glad that I got to see that. It made me miss live music a lot. So I cannot wait for that to return at some point in the future.
Yeah, it really felt like the stuff we did in college, right? I mean, combination of the rock and raise vibes. Did Zach get back to you? Is that the face you're making?
Keep going. We'll get to that in a second. Keep going.
It gave me the vibes of like X Fest and like all the stuff we did in college kind of combined together. Me personally was exposed to a lot of new music, which I really appreciated. We had sets, as we talked about before, on a roof, in a church, in a basement, on a couch. I mean, I liked the variety of it. It was really cool to kind of go from different location to different location. Kind of the unique aspect of it as opposed to everybody in one place. So that was kind of cool to see. So yeah, it was a really cool weekend. Really, really good vibes, really good interviews as well, as you mentioned with Coach Pagano. So yeah, Russ and Eric, shout out to them. Soundtown, I think they're starting up their regular podcast season this week, right? I think I saw that tweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So leading right into their new season. Not as a plug or anything, but we're going to be on it. So just had to throw that out there. So if you want to hear more of us, we'll be talking about some non-sports stuff as well on that.
They normally bring on people in the music or the DIY scene, but one of their podcast episodes this season is going to be two schmucks who don't do any of that. So that'll be a nice change of pace for their listeners. So so thank you once again. We cannot express our thanks enough. They mentioned that maybe they want to do it again next year, which would be a lot of fun. But as I said, if you want to see it again, or if you want to watch it for the first time, bestavailableplayer.com, scroll down the page. Whether you're on computer, mobile, you'll still see it. Both videos for day 1 and day 2. Go check it out. There's timestamps for each band in the video description on YouTube. So just go check it out, please. Give those bands your time, and if you can donate, definitely donate, because it was for a good cause. Zach said...
This is such a horrendous take from Zach. As someone who voted for original, this is a horrendous take that makes our case so much harder to make.
Zach said, to me, sometimes the cookie is too much with the ice cream. The original is light, and the chocolate goes perfectly with the ice cream. The cookie, while still good, to me doesn't complement the ice cream as well. To which Glenn gave us a YouTube link to the scene from Billy Madison where the guy says, everyone is dumber. Everyone is now dumber for what you have said, because of what you have said. And I think that's just the best way to end this podcast episode. I can't think of a better way to end episode 39.
So I just want to say, though, to that point, then why is cookies and cream ice cream so popular? Right? If the cookie is not a compliment to the ice cream. So I don't know if I agree. I don't agree with his take there. You obviously don't, Ryan, but
we'll catch you guys again next week.
What a great way to end the show.
Best available podcast, number 40 next week, a nice big round number. So stay tuned. Get your vaccine shots if you haven't already. I got my second shot, and today I'm feeling pretty good. Sunday, it almost felt like I was hungover when I woke up, but I got better as the day went on, and today I'm perfectly fine. So go get your shots if you haven't already. And that's how we're going to end this episode. We'll catch you guys again next week. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your days.